What's up, everyone? I am here with Michelle Corinne Suarez. She is the owner of the Florida Entrepreneur Law Firm, and I'm thrilled to have her. So, Michelle, tell everyone a little bit about your company and your law firm.
Well, we started Florida Entrepreneur Law in 2017 based on an idea that there was a lot of entrepreneurs that weren't able to be served by these huge law firms. And we believed that we could provide the same services without having a lion in the front door of the law firm with marble floors.
I love what you just said, which is people don't need a big law firm to handle their cases. And I see that in personal injury also. There's a lot of big law firms, big, heavy advertisers. So from your perspective, what is so important about having that small business being able to help another business?
I think the importance is that you need to be able to get a hold of your attorney. You want to be able to have a conversation with your attorney without them throwing out a bunch of, inflated legal terms to make themselves sound smart or sophisticated. You just want to know, I have this problem. How do I solve it? These are my dreams. How do I get there? And we help you do that without making it complicated or overly stuffy.
I was really looking forward to having this conversation because I know your reputation. I know that you're an amazing business owner, amazing lawyer, extremely active in the community. But I'm even happier now that we're talking about this idea of the small law firm and the importance of the client being able to get in touch with the lawyer and communicate with the lawyer. Is that something that you really strive for at Florida Entrepreneur Law?
Yeah, absolutely. We actually do build in irregular hourly rates into our policy because we also believe in work-life balance. So we want to attract the right type of clients. But the reality is that most of our clients have become our friends. And so if they email me on a Monday and say, hey, Michelle, I really need this back by Wednesday, we'll do what we can to make that happen. And if we can't, there's a little bit of a premium they pay on that, but we also provide excellent service. We're always there for them. They never talk to our paralegal, they talk to us.
See, a lot of consumers, and whether they're a small business owner or maybe they're someone in an accident, they think bigger is better, right? They see that and it's like this capturing thing. But in my view, it's the idea of the flexibility and the agility of the small law firm. It's like we are light infantry. You know what I mean? Yeah. We can make decisions quickly and help our clients and make decisions internally that we don't have to run it up the bureaucracy ladder, right?
Right, 100%. That's actually one of the factors that helped me decide years ago to start the company is that I was at a big law firm at the time and it was a great law firm. Mm-hmm. But that being said, I had to turn away certain clients because they weren't a big enough client, or I couldn't make a decision without going through 3 steps in the chain of command to get something done quickly.
I know exactly what you mean. And I know you worked at a very reputable law firm, but I was really impressed with you jumping out and starting up your own really boutique law firm that was helping small business owners and even big business owners, and it's grown tremendously. So who are the people? What are the type of clients that you're helping? What kind of businesses?
That's actually an awesome question, considering last night I was at a party for one of our biggest clients that has become both owners have become really good friends of mine. Mm-hmm. And I'll say it here because we're actually asking them to do a testimonial for us soon, but Florida One Insurance Company, they're one of the bigger car insurance companies in Florida. I remember when they started out, I won't say what their gross was, but it was at a certain level, and now it's at a much higher level. And they're one of Inc. 5000's top fastest growing franchise in the country, and those are our clients.
Wow.
So we represent that kind of company, and we also represent the small tattoo parlor in downtown Fort Lauderdale. So we've got all kinds of businesses. We don't turn work away because you're too small or too big.
So, a lot of people really today is such an interesting time because there's so many people that are really driven and they're getting motivated and pumped up to start their own business, to be an entrepreneur. I mean, it is a really, really exciting time. So what are some of the first things that you tell people who are really interested in making that jump to open up their own business, open up their own whatever it is company? What's the first thing you really tell them as, from a lawyer perspective?
Right. Well, I think it depends on where they are in their planning stages. Mm-hmm. So if they just have an idea, the first thing I'm going to tell them is, okay, how far along is your idea? Because I want to know if this is just a concept or if this is something they've thought out, because I don't want them spending money on us if they don't need to. We're there to support them and guide them when it's the right time.
Yeah.
Now, if they have an idea and they have all the pieces and now they just need somebody to help them put it together, the nice thing is, because we are a company of our shareholders or commercial litigation attorneys, both my business partner and I have 15 years of combined commercial litigation experience, we're able to not only guide them on how to start and grow their business, but how to protect their business along the way so that when that lawsuit comes, and I always tell them when, not if, because the more successful you are, that just means the bullseye on your back gets bigger. Yeah. But because we put the right contracts and protections in place for them along the way, it's a lot faster to settle that case when it comes.
Yeah, yeah. When they have the protections that they need, right? So it is a really exciting time when they're going to be opening up their own business. And what you just mentioned is so when people come to you, sometimes you don't even say, listen, you don't need a lawyer right now. You may say that. You may say, listen, you don't need a lawyer right now. Here's some advice, here's some suggestions, but this is the time when you get to this stage, give me a call.
100%. I actually have that conversation several times a month.
So what is the stage where someone is opening up or starting their business that they should reach out to an attorney at Florida Entrepreneur Law?
There, I would say three different issues that may come up for them or circumstances where they immediately need to hire us. One is they've got some kind of business partner, one or more, and they're already putting plans together, but money together, more importantly.
Got it.
So if any money is coming out of anyone's account to go toward this so-called business, you need to contact us because we need to memorialize that in a contract. If they don't have something in writing, they're going to spend a lot more with us to resolve that dispute later on. So one, if you have a business partner and you're putting money together. Two, if you're incurring any type of expense at all. So if you're putting money down for a commercial lease, if you are spending money on a patent application that you think is going to be the foundation of the intellectual property for your business, you need to hire us then to form your business. And then three, I would say if you're hiring an independent contractor or an employee, in any of those scenarios, you need to already be established as a business and have contracts in place. So we help with all of that.
Got it. Do you handle employment contracts or do you just handle on the management level, business owner contracts?
So typically the type of employment agreements that we see are C-suite executive employment contracts that are coming to us for review and negotiation.
Okay.
We don't typically, we haven't had many situations where we're drafting the employment agreements. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes they'll work with HR companies that put that together. And then what we will do is review them, revise them accordingly and edit them. But we don't draft those. So
when someone's starting a business, and when I opened up a law firm, my law firm, one of the first things I did was incorporate. What is incorporation and why is that important for people who are going to start a business?
It's extremely important because it's the only thing that separates your personal identity and assets from the identity that is your business. So if you don't create that shelter, which is the guise of a limited liability company or a corporation, or in some cases a partnership, although that's seen less often, you are now mixing the money that you have for yourself personally with the money you have for a business, so they can sue you and come after your personal assets. You have to create that separation and treat the business as a completely separate individual.
And for the people who don't open up or don't start their incorporate or start a corporation or start a limited liability company, and they're using their personal assets and they're running their business, what can happen to them if they get sued?
All the bad things. All the bad things. I mean, with the exception of maybe your house that's hopefully homestead, exemption protected, you can lose a lot of your personal assets. You can have your wages garnished. Let's say that, somebody slips and falls on your personal property that you have in your name that's really an Airbnb property, and the Airbnb coverage limit is $1 million. And this person, God forbid, has an injury that exceeds $1 million. Now guess whose assets they're coming after? Yours. So those are the types of scenarios where you really cannot do things under your personal identity. You have to have a separate corporate structure.
So is the idea of incorporating, is that really to limit your own personal liability and protect your own assets?
100%, and to protect the assets of your heirs and your spouse. Yeah. People often think of trust and estate planning as protecting your assets, and that is 100%, a way to maximize tax benefits and to protect your assets from creditors. But you can also do that through the corporate structure. And oftentimes we work with trust and estates attorneys. I can think of 4 different transactions right now where I'm doing that. where we layer the protection of a corporate structure with trust and estate planning.
It gets extremely complex, doesn't it? This is why people need a lawyer.
Right. There's no simple business issue, but we do help make it very simple.
So it's so funny because people start businesses together. They have a buddy or a friend or whatever it is, a business partner, and they don't plan ahead as far as what could happen because they think everything's always going to be fine. We're always going to be friends. What is your experience when, from what you've seen over the years that you've been running your practice and practicing as a lawyer, what have you seen with the people who really they don't think about the future?
What I've seen is a lot of really difficult, painful, emotionally charged conversations that I have to have with them because it's really hard to have to tell someone, listen, if you had come to us before you formed your business, we could have helped both of you flush all of this out so that even if you had a business divorce, you'd at least know, both of you would know the outcome. Yeah. And it would be a lot cheaper because you would know the outcome through the contracts we would draft. When they come to us after the fact, it's a lot more expensive and time consuming and often difficult to negotiate a settlement because of the fact that nothing was put in writing. In Florida, for example, if you don't have an operating agreement with an LLC, it defaults to the statute. Well, the statute only has 13 default provisions that tell you exactly what's going to happen, but there's a lot of gaps you need to fill. So if you don't have an operating agreement in place, it's going to be a very messy situation.
And so, you think about when things fall apart, right? And someone sues another person. Had they had these mechanisms in place, so they spoke to a lawyer, they reached out to someone who knows what they're doing to put these mechanisms in place to protect for the future for both parties. Why does it get so expensive later on when they didn't just spend a little bit of money up front?
Because if you're going to court and let's say the judge or the jury is your audience, they don't know what you know. So if you don't have a contract in front of them that clearly says if A happens, B happens, if C happens, D happens, then you now have to paint a picture for them and think about it. How can you paint a picture for them besides what he said, she said, through text messages, through emails, and oftentimes these relationships are spanning years. Yeah. So what I'm getting at is the discovery process, which is, the litigation process where you have to prove each side of the story, can get very expensive very quickly. And at the end of the day, you're still not going to have a clear picture of what the parties intended. It's always going to be a he said, she said.
So really bottom line is if someone who's planning to start a business and they get to that point where, the two partners are going to be putting money into the business, or there's a plan, or they're going to buy applications for trademarks or whatever. From your perspective, is it important for them to reach out to a lawyer and put things in writing, contracts or agreements in place before they get any further? Oh,
absolutely. When we start with our clients, we always have what's called an initial strategy session. And that session is just to tell me about your business. What do you do? What industry are you in? How many employees do you have or want to have in the next year? And what are your goals for the next 5 years? That's really what we need to know. Because by getting a big bird's eye view picture of what your goals are as a business, we can say, okay, these are the legal issues that are the most important. This is where we're going to start. And this is how much it's going to cost you at each stage.
And then the big problem is when they don't have that map from a lawyer that's going to and have the mechanisms in place that cost X, Y, or Z, it may end up costing them a lot more when things fall apart.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, we make way more money off of our litigation cases than our corporate clients, but that doesn't make us happy, because we have to break the bad news to our clients when they come to us that, hey, not to kick someone when they're down, but had you come to us, we could have avoided this problem.
Yeah. So, I think the critical element when it comes to entrepreneur law is having that client get to you as early as possible during the process.
Yeah. Look, we're busy. Thank God. We're very grateful. We've got business. So we're never going to tell the client to spend money they don't need to spend. We're going to tell them, listen, this is the money you need to spend. This is an average of what it might cost you because, there are ranges. Sure. And these are the stages that we recommend that you tackle these projects in, and then you decide at the end of the day.
What is from your experience? What is the biggest difference between the big law firm that are servicing these businesses and companies that are forming their companies or limited liability companies what's the biggest difference between the big law firms dealing with these small business owners and a smaller law firm like yourself, a boutique law firm?
So I would say the biggest difference is the woman power. So the big law firms have, an arsenal of maybe 200 attorneys and 500 support staff. So they can handle the Walmarts and the Amazons of the world and their legal issues, which, cover a vast area of law. When businesses come to us that are not the Amazons and Walmarts of the world, they don't necessarily need a team of 100 attorneys because we can help them with most of those legal issues at a fraction of the cost. It's not that we are definitely not a bargain stop law firm. Uh-huh. We are a quality over quantity law firm. We really do choose our clients. We turn away lots of clients that don't fit our culture. But I think the difference is at our firm, you're not going to have 6 or 7 different attorneys handling your corporate matter. You're just going to be dealing with 1, maybe 2 attorneys. And these attorneys are going to know your business from the inception through your growth to a franchise growing company. We're going to know everything about your business.
And that's something that I appreciated at our office at Rosen Injury Law, is that unlike the big law firm where a client's calling in, they're trying to get in touch with someone, they speak to this intake person, to this receptionist, to this paralegal, and they have to, clients know that they can reach directly out to us. They can get my cell phone. They can call me whenever they need it, And most of the time it's interesting because I give my cell phone to pretty much everybody all my clients, but most of them don't call me. It's interesting because they're able to get in touch with the office. And if they need me, they're getting kept up to date. They kind of know because it's a much smaller, almost like family atmosphere, right? Yeah. Like personalized experience with the clients. I mean, how do you feel? One of our core values is exceptional service at our office. What are some of the core values you have over at Florida Entrepreneur Law?
So we have 3. It's honesty, integrity, and professionalism. And those are important to us because one of the things that we've found is we all came from big law firms at my firm. And while I don't want to say, I have a lot of friends that work at big law firms that have integrity. We often found that you had to say that something took you a certain amount of time because you have a high monthly billable that you have to meet. We don't have that restriction at our firm. We're just trying to get the job done most efficiently for our clients. So integrity is very important to us. We do not spend more time than we say it takes us, and half the time you get a discount on that time. So if it takes me, 3 hours to research something because I haven't seen this issue in 5 years, you're not getting charged 3 hours. You're getting charged the reasonable rate. And then professionalism, we treat you with respect and we expect our clients to treat us with respect. Yeah, so that core value goes both ways. It's not a core value that we only invoke ourselves. We also reflect that onto our clients and expect the same from them. And then honesty is our last one. One of my favorite things to tell, particularly litigation clients, before I decide to take them on as a client, is that I need them to tell me everything, whether it's good or bad, because if I find out they're lying to me, I'll fire them. Mm-hmm. And I have in the past twice. So that being said, I want my clients to feel that they have a trusting and honest and open relationship with me, and I'm going to offer the same to them. So I can do my best to help them.
Listen, those are 3 very important core values, and I love that your core values go both ways.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah. We choose our clients as much as they choose us.
That is. Yeah. And I have that same mentality at our office. Is if someone calls in, I don't care what the case is. If they're not treating us with respect, mm-hmm. or they're yelling at a paralegal, yelling at a legal assistant, to me that is it's unacceptable. Absolutely. And we have discharged clients if they're treating us poorly. 100%. We're here for them. We're gonna go above and beyond, and we're gonna provide we will relentlessly pursue their case. But if they treat us poorly, there's just no place in our office for it.
Yeah, for sure. Happy lawyers make happier clients.
That's
just a fact.
You mentioned something else, and I was thinking about this, how at some of the big law firms that they're almost like quotas, like mm-hmm. key performance indicators, they call them KPIs.
Yeah. And
I thought about this at whether that's happening at, and I've heard about key performance indicators at some big personal injury law firms. Mm-hmm. And I get a concern in my mind where are the people that are pushing the cases, are they trying to settle more claims for lesser value because they're trying to meet a key performance indicator by settling an X amount of claims, right? If they can get these cases settled in a certain amount of time, they're not settling them for full value, but they're getting all those cases settled. So they're showing that they're processing the claims. And I've heard, to me, that's a big, big concern when it comes to bigger personal injury law firms. But that's just, I don't know.
No, rightfully so. That actually I had a conversation last night with an attorney at the function that I was at for this company party we were invited to. And she was telling me that her grandma years ago slipped and fell at Publix. And the amount that her grandma ended up having to settle for was a very low amount compared to the amount of medical bills that she faced. And I told her, I asked her, I said, did she have an attorney? And my associate said, yeah, she had an attorney, but I don't know if she had a good attorney. And that makes me think about what you're saying, because if you're just trying to hit certain metrics, are you really doing what's best for the client, or are you doing what's best for your metric?
You see, you started Florida Entrepreneur Law because that was a passion of yours. I mean, why is it that you started? Let me ask you, tell everyone, why is it that you started Florida Entrepreneur Law?
Well, I've always been entrepreneurial. In high school, I was the president of the Academy of International Business, and my parents were entrepreneurs growing up. So I always knew that at some point I was going to have to drive my own ship. But I was willing to wait a while. And at one point, I wasn't sure if I was still going to do that because I was very happy at the firm that I was with before I went out on my own. But when I realized that there was a group of businesses, a large group in Middle America of businesses that really weren't being serviced properly by the legal industry, I felt like there was a need that was not being met. And I felt like the vision that I had for the firm I wanted to create could definitely meet that need without being quite big law. And quite frankly, what started off as a solo firm has become a boutique firm and has right now, it's on the trajectory to become, a mid-sized, small boutique focused firm, but we can still offer that personal service. So I knew what I wanted to create. And so far it's a fast moving train and I'm just on for the ride.
But this is what I was thinking about the other day. And it really struck me because before you opened up your own law firm, you worked at another big law firm and your passion was entrepreneur law, right? It was business law. Now that big law firm, right, needs to find other lawyers to come and take that position because they're so big. They need a body to fill the spot, right?
Sure.
Are they hiring the person who's so driven to really help businesses, or are they just hiring someone who wants to get the salary, come in, clock out, and really have that passion for helping people? That's my big concern.
Yeah, I totally get that concern, and it's twofold, right? It's to some extent, it falls on the associate that's interviewing for the job to show that passion, because if they don't let the person know that's hiring them that they're passionate about this subject area, then how are they going to know to place them in that position? On the other end of that, like you were talking about KPIs, if I come in and I am so focused on hitting certain KPIs, how am I going to focus on building the knowledge and the expertise that I need in a certain area to become the best, to serve my clients well? I don't think that that's possible at a lot of these big law firms. I don't think that they create an environment that allows for that growth.
I think about some of the big, and this was just coming to my mind when you brought this up, but I think about some of these big personal injury law firms, and they need to hire so many people because they're getting so many claims because of this mass advertising campaigns. Are they hiring the person who is truly passionate about personal injury law, who is driven, I knew when I first read this book in law school about trial lawyers and about personal injury law, that was like, that's what I want to do. I want to be the guy that can sit in a courtroom and take on any big company, by myself, and help someone who's been badly hurt or lost someone close to them. That was my passion. It was like, and I will do everything I can to get into that position, which I did. Then I worry that are the big law firms finding that person, or are they just finding like a claims handling lawyer, or someone that's just going to take a salary and meet their KPIs and get their bonus and go home.
Yeah. I think to some extent, it's not even their fault at a certain point. They grow so much that they can't keep the control on the people that they have or the passions they're pursuing. You can't, at a certain growth rate, maintain that. You can't. And I think they lose the importance of their culture. They have this idea as what their culture is and what they start out to be. But for example, I can't pretend to say what my firm is going to be in 20 years because I may have passed on to other people at that point. But I can tell you that one of the most important things in the succession planning of our firm, and my business partner and I talk about this all the time, is that we want to build a legacy that is bigger than us. But more importantly, we know our hard stop. We know when we get to this many attorneys and this much support staff, that's it. Clients go on a waiting list because we want to be able to serve our clients exceptionally well. We don't want to just be another business law firm in the state of Florida. We want to be the best business law firm in the state of Florida.
I honestly wish I could show you, I could bring it up on my computer, but we have our vision for our firm is that we are always growing, right? But we will never compromise our core values, right? Which is providing exceptional service, relentless pursuit of justice, always growing, teamwork, So, all right, Michelle. So tell everyone how they can get in touch with you and your law firm over at Florida Entrepreneur Law.
Yeah, you can go to floridaaentrepreneurlaw.com. Easy enough. Look up how to spell entrepreneur before you write it in. Attorneys spell it wrong all the time. And we're also on Instagram and Facebook, also under Florida Entrepreneur Law.
All right. So if people want to find you on Instagram, what is your Instagram handle?
Florida Entrepreneur Law.
All right. And then Facebook also?
Yep.
All right. Are you on TikTok? Are you on TikTok yet?
We are not on TikTok.
Am I going to be able to convince you to go on TikTok?
Oh, man, I don't know. My wife's been trying to get me on TikTok for like 2 years. Maybe.
Okay.
I'll consider it.
All right. We're going to talk about it. All right. Well, listen, thank you so much. I'm thrilled to have you here. It's been a great conversation.
Grateful to be here.
We will have to do this again in the future.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome.